it. I wasn't like holding on to it, I was unaware of it.
Prince Harry says his mother was chased to death while in a relationship with someone who wasn't white.
I always wanted to be normal, as opposed to Prince Harry just being Harry.
And feared history repeating itself with wife Meghan. The Duke of Sussex made the startling revelation in a series of interviews with Oprah Winfrey on his new Apple Plus show, The Me You Can't See.
It was a puzzling life.
Diana died in 1997 alongside Egyptian film producer Dodi Al-Fayed, who she had been dating for several months. An inquest jury ruled the Princess of Wales and her partner died because of the grossly negligent driving of Henry Paul, who was around 3 times over the drink-drive limit. They also singled out the paparazzi's speed and the way they were driving as contributory factors, but concluded the couple could have survived the accident had they been wearing seatbelts, therefore were not chased to death. But Harry said he felt there were parallels in their stories when he followed in his mother's footsteps and began dating a person of color.
But unfortunately, when I think about my mum, the first thing that comes to mind is always the same one over and over again.
My mother was chased to her death while she was in a relationship with someone who wasn't white, he said. And now look what's happened. You want to talk about history repeating itself, they're not going to stop until she dies.
Driving, being chased by 3, 4, 5 mopeds with paparazzi on, and then she was almost unable to drive because of the tears.
It's incredibly triggering to potentially lose another woman in my life. Like, the list is growing.
Protection. One of the feelings that comes up with me always is the helplessness. Being too young, being a guy, but too young to be able to help.
And it all comes back to the same people, the same business model, the same industry. Harry admitted he wished he had called out racism when he first started dating Meghan, but said he would no longer accept it.
That's enough. Okay. Thank you. Can we have a nice picture, please?
My biggest regret is not making more of a stance earlier on in my relationship with my wife and calling out the racism when I did, he said. He also issued a jab at Prince Charles, suggesting he willingly accepted that everyone in the royal family just had to put up with such struggles.
It was taken away from me at the age of 12, just before my 13th birthday. I didn't want the life.
My father used to say to me, and William when we younger, it was like that for me, so it'll be like that for you, he said.
By this point, both of us were in shock.
Did more processing.
That doesn't make sense. Just because you suffered, that doesn't mean your kids have to suffer.
I was so angry with what happened to her and the fact that there was no justice at all.
In fact, quite the opposite. If you suffered, do everything you can to make sure that whatever negative experiences you had, you can make it right for your kids. Speaking about his therapy, he added, one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned in life is you've sometimes got to go back and deal with really uncomfortable situations and be able to process it in order to be able to heal.
I'm now more comfortable in my own skin. I don't get panic attacks. I've learned more about myself in the last 4 years than I have in the 32 years before that.
For me, therapy has equipped me to be able to take on anything. That's why I'm here now. That's why my wife is here now.
I'm freaking out every single time I jump in the car and every single time that I see a camera. Well, firstly,
What did it feel like?
I would just start sweating.
That feeling of being trapped within the family, there was no option to leave. Eventually, when I made that decision for my family, I was still told you can't do this. I was like, how bad does it have to get until I am allowed to do this? That Meghan was going to end her life? It shouldn't have to get to that. In the candid interview, the prince also discusses his failure to process the grief from the death of his mother, the helplessness he felt when he struggled to protect her, and his dependence on drugs and alcohol to numb the pain.
Slowly became aware that, okay, I wasn't drinking Monday to Friday, but I would probably drink a week's worth.
He spoke of his anxiety and sense of being trapped in the palace and his family's refusal to help when Meghan felt suicidal. In the series, people from around the world discuss their experiences battling issues of depression, trauma, anxiety, and mental illness, including famous faces like Lady Gaga, Glenn Close, and NBA star Deemer DeRozan. Harry said the therapy helped him break the cycle. For me, "Therapy has equipped me to be able to take on anything," he said. "I knew if I didn't do the therapy and fix myself I would lose this woman I could see spending the rest of my life with."
Chased, harassed. The clicking of cameras and the flashes of cameras makes my blood boil. It makes me angry. It takes me back to what happened to my mum and what I experienced when I was a kid.